the second part of this episode. We are now continuing with the second part of this discussion. Part one was over and we are continuing from where we left on PSUs, divestment versus disinvestment, and do we have another way forward to actually enable our PSUs and make them continue to be major contributors of Indian economy and bringing back to 22 to 25% of the GDP contribution. Now that's a broad spectrum of the discussion. We were having Shukla Saab putting his views across कि भाई ये divestment versus disinvestment का idea जो divestment तो ना होगी पर disinvestment हाँ ठीक है बड़ी selective और strategic बात करें. कहिए शुक्ला साहब.
तो सर मैं एक दूसरा एग्जांपल ले रहा हूँ. In Tehri hydro project, we constructed earthen rockfill dam and constructed one underground powerhouse of 1000 megawatt capacity, and then we went ahead for Koteshwar. In all these projects and the projects which are coming up, we have been very good partners. That means the public sector and the private sector, they have been very good partners. And if this partnership fails or gets into trouble, probably we fail to develop the project. And therefore, again, that gives the right example to ensure that a proper synchronization has to be there between private sector and public sector. And both have to jointly share the responsibility. And we have developed very good models like joint ventures, like EPC contract, like BOOT. All these things have been happening in the country, and we are moving ahead. The pace of industrialization, when we talk about GDP, we talk about agriculture, we talk about services, we talk about industry. Anywhere you see, whether it is agriculture is deficient, is no way up to the mark if it is devoid of agro machineries. So agro machineries are of utmost importance for agriculture, and then only you can enhance the GDP share on account of agriculture. Otherwise, manual farming will never take us to anywhere. And same applies to service sector, our IT industry, the type of automation, the type of artificial intelligence, and the type of data science, everything, all these things which are going to take place, everywhere we require proper industrial setup and that industrial support to all these sectors. So what I want to convey that whatever major projects like infrastructure we have talked about, NHI is constructing the road network, the ports are being constructed. Anywhere you see, the crux of the matter is public sector and private sector. If both are in harmony and working together, they are giving the result. And if there is some problem in any form, and probably if there is mismatch of the thinking of these two partners, we failed in that direction. And if we put only private, we can understand there are many problems. If we put only public sector, there are many problems. So a proper synchronization, a proper harmony has to be created, proper resource pooling has to be done. And Khajanchi Sahab has raised one very important issue. The trained manpower, the manpower which is required for the specific purpose. I gave you the example of this Khamaria Ordnance Factory, which always keeps its manpower ready to go to field, to front, not field. In fact, that is the front. And at front, at difficult terrain, remotest areas, snow-clad peaks, they have to provide that sort of delivery of maintenance of the equipments, of the vehicles, the type of operation which is going on, the support for that, every such thing is required. This is happening not only with the manpower of the ordnance factory. They have a pool of private entrepreneurs who are fully committed with them, and they take their services and getting it done. So again, anywhere we look at, we find this is the proper harmony and synchronization of the energy of both private sector and public sector. And if we dysfunction by one thought or the other to one. Probably that will not help. We have something like 348 CPSEs. Now,
Yeah,
out
about
of
348.
348, 248 have gone crippled. This crippling of the industry is not one day job. This has been in the process for the last decades and decades, and government was seeing it and they allowed it to happen. Those are the things which are required to be tackled if we want to really provide industrial growth to the country, and if we really don't want to set tears on the miserable condition, then these thoughts are required to be properly looked into, and these things have to be harnessed. So these are my views, and I will request the authorities to ponder over these so that things could materialize in a positive way. Thank you, sir.
Right, sir. So, abhi aapne Ordnance Factory Board ki baat ki. We had carried a wonderful story, but I will come to that at the end of the program. But abhi main kuch, I wanted to share the figure before I bring Murugeshan ji into the discussion. There are some very interesting figures. As of 31st March 2019, the total public sector enterprises, about 350 odd, as you rightly said. This includes the CPSCs and the state public sector together. There are about 350 odd of entities owned by the government of India, state government, etc., and represent a total investment of 16.41 lakh crores. 16.41 lakh crore की investment है, और इसको हम US dollar में convert करेंगे, it is 235 billion US dollar. That is the kind of investment we have. I want to bring proportion to this discussion because government should receive figures from us, because nowhere it is being talked about. कि आज 235 billion dollar का investment PSUs ने किया है. Second point, total paid up capital is roughly rupees 2,76,000 crore as on 2019 level, which is US dollar 40 billion total paid up capital, which is quite high, when you compare to any other type of industry. And CPSE has earned a gross revenue for the 2018-19 figures, which is what is available with us, of 25.43 lakh crore, 25.43 lakh crore, which is $365 billion. It's only 15% contribution of GDP, क्योंकि अगर हम 2.4 trillion की GDP माने, तो उसमें ये 15% contribution है, पर बहुत बढ़िया contribution. It's a massive contribution from the GDP. Then total income. Now this is different from revenue. Total income with सारे आपके मिला के, which is minus that is the operational revenue which I have given you earlier, 365 billion. अब मैं आ रहा हूँ total income क्या है? Total income from all sources for the period ending 31st March 2019, 24.4 lakh crore, 24.4 lakh crore, which is US dollar 350 billion. We were talking such figures. Now comes reserve and surplus का ख्याल करिए. अभी एक कंफ्यूजन हो रहा है. अब ये फिगर हमको जो मिली है, हम आपको बता रहे हैं. 31 मार्च 2019 में हमारी जो रिजर्व एंड सरप्लस फंड्स थे, जो पब्लिक सेक्टर के हैं, जो हम डिप्लॉय करते हैं बाद में इमरजेंसी सर्कमस्टेंस में, was close to 9.93 lakh crore, 142 billion dollar. हम फॉरेक्स रिजर्व की बात करते हैं, उसमें इतना दम नहीं है, क्योंकि फॉरेक्स रिजर्व यू हैव टू सर्विस द डेट. योर टोटल कंट्रीज टुडे 600 बिलियन की फॉरेक्स रिजर्व है, पर 563 बिलियन हमारी नेशनल डेट है. अगर हम अपनी नेशनल डेट को देना चाहें तो हमारी फॉरेक्स रिजर्व का कोई मतलब नहीं. पर ये फ्री पैसा है, ये पब्लिक सेक्टर का पैसा आपके पास पड़ा हुआ है, which I am saying is 142 billion, 140 बिलियन भी मान ले, इस डॉलर काफी जबरदस्त हमारे पास रिसोर्स है. प्रॉफिट ऑफ 178 PSUs प्रॉफिट में है अभी भी, चाहे वो छोटी प्रॉफिट में हो, बड़ी प्रॉफिट में हो. 178 profit making central public sector enterprises which are not state are not included in this is about 1.75 lakh crore, US dollar 25 बिलियन का प्रॉफिट ये इन्होंने रिपोर्ट किया इसी पीरियड में 2019 में. while the loss making 70 loss making PSU है, इनके कुल मिला के लॉस, जो हम कहा जाता है बहुत नुकसान कर रहे हैं, कुल मिला के इनका लॉस 31,365 crore, 31,365 crore केवल, which is $4.5 billion, which is nothing. Now, when we take this over figure, the overall net profit, that means subtracting the loss making 70 PSUs and using the profitability of 178 profit making PSUs, the total operating CPSC profit, the central public sector में स्टेट की नहीं जा रहा हूं, राज्यों की नहीं जा रहा हूं, क्योंकि वो वाला कहानी है, इस 20.5 बिलियन यूएस डॉलर। तो जो मिथ है कि पीएसयू लॉस कर रही है इतना, वो मिथ हमने इसमें खोल दिया। ये हमें फिगर पिछली बार भी आप लोगों के साथ डिस्कशन हमारी 4-5 साल पहले की हुई है, तब इस तरह की फिगर हमारे पास नहीं थी। आज मैं जो फिगर दे रहा हूं ये हमारे आई ओपनर है कि हम किस लिए इनको बेचना चाह रहे हैं, हम इनको किसको देना चाह रहे हैं, क्या कारण है। ठीक है, हो सकता है कि हम इनसे और 1.5 गुना पैदा कर सकते हैं, इनएफिशिएंसी होगी, प्रोफेशनलाइज करिए, पर ये कहना कि ये लॉस कर रहे हैं, ये बहुत बड़ा भारी काम होगा। जो 70 पीएसयू इन पर फोकस करें, जो जिनका लॉस हो रहा है, इनमें सारे के सारे बेचे नहीं जाएंगे, कईयों की मैनेजमेंट इश्यूज होंगी। अब देखिए, अब आपको एक और फिगर देता हूं। आई एम गिविंग द नेट वर्थ ऑफ ऑल सीपीएससी पुट टुगेदर आज के दिन इज 12.08 लाख करोड़, मतलब 172.5 बिलियन यूएस डॉलर। अब आपको मैं पहली फिगर पे लेके जाता हूं, जो हमने कहा था टोटल इन्वेस्टमेंट जो है, टोटल सीपीएसयू होली ओन्ड इन्वेस्टमेंट इज 235 बिलियन यूएस डॉलर, और आप देखिए कि नेटवर्थ उसकी 172.5 बिलियन डॉलर। तो ये इन्वेस्टमेंट आपने जो करी है वो घटी नहीं है, ये आज उसकी नेटवर्थ है। ये नेटवर्थ इज अ डिफरेंट सब्जेक्ट, कि आज पीएसयूज की नेटवर्थ इतनी गिरी नहीं है। अगर आप प्राइवेट सेक्टर के देखें, स्टॉक मार्केट में लंबा चौड़ा कहा जा रहा है, लेकिन एक्चुअल नेटवर्थ उनकी बहुत कम हो चुकी है प्राइवेट सेक्टर की, इस पे कोई नहीं ध्यान दे रहा है। देन कंट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ सीपीएसयूज टू सेंट्रल एक्सचेकर by excise duty, custom duty, GST, corporate tax, interest on central government loans, जो केंद्र सरकार से लोन में पैसा लिया जाता है, उठाया जाता है, उसको भी दिया जाता है वापस, dividends and other tax and duty, that also stood at 3.68 lakh crores, प्लस में था 52.5 बिलियन यूएस डॉलर। अब मैंने रैटल आउट कर दिए इतने फिगर, और ये जो भी हमारा प्रोग्राम देखेंगे, लेट देम नाउ स्टार्ट थिंकिंग इनसाइड कि क्या हम ये पीएसयूज को हम इस तरह से सरेआम हम उनको बेचने के चक्कर में जो घूम रहे हैं, उसकी जगह आज मेरे फिगर है, ये मैं सरकार के फिगर कोट कर रहा हूं, मेरे नहीं है, वो भी 2019 के लेवल के। मैं तो कोविड के बाद क्या हुआ उसके ऊपर नहीं जा रहा हूं, भले ही हम कहें कि 10-15% को डिस्काउंट भी करते हैं, तो भी बहुत भारी भरकम मतलब कंट्रीब्यूशन टू जीडीपी के अलावा भारी भरकम नेशनल एसेट्स हैं। नाउ मुरुगेशन सर, why we are trying to sell this very big national assets which are hugely important for this country?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are all.
N. Murugesan Saab is the former Director General of Central Power Research Institute and an eminent person from the public sector who has seen everything closely. So why we are? I have rattled out so much of positivity of the public sector. So why we are selling this gold of our country? This is the real gold and diamond of our country.
Sir, many of us are born and brought up, yet drank, and even you took breathe everything in public sector. So it is honor. In fact, when we are small, we are looking towards public sector as our sole organization for the development of individual as well as for a country. It has done it. It has done it. In fact, before 1947, absolutely there was no public sector excepting telegraph, railways, all such things were very small things were, ordnance factories were there. But over a period of time, our forefathers were very kind enough. What we are today is just because of public sector. In fact, there was a statistics say that 2 out of the 7 units or 2 out of 3 units is come from BHEL generators some time back. That was a contribution of the public sector. I'm telling about only a power sector where all the generation, whether you talk about generation, transmission, distribution, any you talk about anything, all technological, everything what we are talking today is brought by all the public sector organizations, whether BHEL, NTPC, you name any factory. So all public now private sector CEOs, all these people are from this people only contributed. So, sir, there was a drastic changes in policies and other things. I will answer 2-3 questions on what ails this particular sector, what we are today, because of this one. I will come back to the last one. In fact, I worked very closely, very closely with the ministry, not only ministry, planning commission, and the Department of Expenditure, all even Prime Minister office or Chief Secretary office, I moved very closely and how things are getting done and who makes this thing to either go up or fall down. It is a very minute things. We have seen very closely how the whole policy structures works. Fortunately, I was selected by very honest people sitting on the board. Otherwise, I would not got the Director General. That is a reality. So I am very thankful to those committee who are in the ACs, the committee who never intervened in my selection. I would be able to come there. Otherwise, now it is not at all possible. In fact, after 1947, the investment of Government of India in public sector was close to 52%. 52% was that is the kind of investment they made it. What we are today as India as a big power or anything, it's all people have laid a great foundation, whether a dam, power, infrastructure, factories, machine tools, all such things have come out of that one. Then over a period of time, maybe even during Manmohan Singh's time, it was close to 20%. Not that bad.
Right.
It was 20%. In 1991, it was 20%. But afterwards, it has gone the new policies like 1991 policies. In fact, that the industrial policy of 1956, 17 industries were reserved exclusively for the public sector. But over a period in 1991, there was a radical change in the government policy towards the public sector. The domestic economy, where the PSU served as engine of growth, has started welcoming private players. After 1991, only 8 industries were reserved for public sector, including defense production, atomic energy, and lignite, like that. But what happened? The first milestone in the history of divestment of PSU dates back to 1999. Prior to this, government had pushed disinvestment, but were considerable restraints. There were restraints, not the total like that. Indulging mostly in minority stake sale of selected PSU, as evident from the year-wise breakup. But during Atalji time as a Prime Minister heading the national NDA between 1919 to 2000 is famously described as a golden period of privatization of public sector undertakings. In fact, in 1999 under NDA regime, dedicated ministry and a separate cabinet committee on decision was set up. That is a milestone on this one. Then, well, there was no significant difference in the investment, disinvestment achievement rates were under these two regimes. There is a huge difference in the average annual total receipt from the disinvestment under the two regimes. The BJP-led government average receipt from the disinvestment are almost 3 times the Congress-led government's average receipt from disinvestment. The BJP-led average annual receipt from investment stands at about, I think, very huge amount, and something like 3 times it can. In fact, there was data released by Department of Investment Public Asset Management up to 2018. It said that it argues that total disinvestment done by BJP-led government was almost twice that of Congress-led government. Is almost 58%. So friends, you can take it that what is that things you want to say that. And come to this government for 2021, the set target was 2.1 lakh crore.
Exactly.
But,
this is what we are discussing.
Yes, but having failed to achieve the current financial target of 1.05 lakh crore, it hopes to achieve an unmet target of this fiscal year, next fiscal year. Our real worry is that the strategy of how this target is going to be achieved is absent. Nevertheless, selling of stake from the high return public enterprise like LIC, that is a disturbance.
That is exactly my point. Why we are selling the highly profit-making enterprise? Why we are, disinvesting in them? You go to the loss-making 70 and work on them.
Yes,
absolutely.
So must we use it? So this is a very dangerous thing. However, a company that diverts for political and social reason may lose the revenue as a result of divesting a profitable asset or division. So we are talking about one is political and another is social. But
Correct.
we are more of coming to the political now. It is not that social. So this is a
Right.
reality. And I listened to Kalanji Saab and our Suklaj ji and Murthy ji. All
Murthy
are
Saab.
coming closer. I worked very closely. I worked very closely from section officer to cabinet secretary.
I
So
know.
I have the privilege. And 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 one thing, sir, one thing is that it is that the appointment of the CEO, is decided by the, as our, I think our Murthy Saab just touched that point. It is by the public sector selection board. But here lies that real problem. All the members are appointed by the ACC committee, appointment committee of the cabinet committee, appointment committee of the cabinet. It is headed by our honorable Prime Minister,
Prime Minister
and Home Minister and concerned minister. So the three honorable members select this one. But we see the record of all these PSU's selection board member, all are bureaucrats. Very rarely people come from here and there. All are looking for post-retirement. So this is a very bad thing. First of all, appointing by ACC itself a political one. So all the members are political. You see, previous cabinet secretary. He was a cabinet secretary, but even for 1 year, he was having 64, 59, he became a cabinet secretary. I did not mention the name. And he became a secretary, and 2 times he was awarded cabinet secretary. But he was having 1 year because that PSU's board member can work up to 65. So, sir, after becoming cabinet secretary, can you become a member in a public selection enterprise board? So we also lowered our level to so low for money. So it has really altered the whole selection process itself. So the CEO selection, we can see the statistics for the last 10 years. Okay, in my period, 2010 was there. Political pressure was there. But it has gone to so low. Now you can't say that I only on merit you will get selected as CEO. Absolutely, that has gone. So
Which
when that has gone,
very sad commentary, sir. Very
yes,
sad commentary.
It's a reality, sir. So many people maybe, they may reserve to say that because we are all out now. So at least now we should be able to talk truth as a truth. So, sir, even so that is happening. So when a person is alive, he, first of all, the minister dictates the term, the concerned minister, if it is a power minister or industry minister, he dictates who has to come. So based on the even selection committee members, modulate the things, sir, modulate these things and violate this even recruitment rule. They say, just example, I can tell the Central Power Research Institute, after myself, that all the 4 members has to present to prepare a note to recommend to the ACC. 1 person did not come. So that committee, that committee selection is not valid as per the ACC rule, but still they recommend and it is approved by the ACC. So people are, even bureaucrats are willing to play that. So we have lowered our level of our professional things. So it has gone to that level. So basic itself is like that. So the people are coming also with the same intention to serve the bosses they come. So they've compromised things. So it was not, it was there before, but before that people are even ready to resign and go. That was the guts they had, that thing. So that has gone down. So professionally, we also lowered our thing. So it starts from there. So it comes like that. Example is that, sir, how the ITI, I can talk about Bangalore. ITI was a so successful company. I have seen from 1984 on 80 onwards. It was so successful company. Had it been allowed to be like this, now 5G, 3G, all such things have a capability to do that. But systematically, the political interference allowed some private company to participate against great giant like Indian telephone industry. It is such a huge company. But all the people have overtaken all the telephone exchange equipment, all the things. They did not allow them to have like that. So we lost precious things because of interference by the political like this ITA or HMT. Such a wonderful machine tool industry company. We lost it from the Red Sea itself. So we can tell that, but where to start? We can, if you take that distribution companies. So I worked with the distribution company and we evaluated it. But if you see that, sir, everybody is having huge debt. So no companies can survive now, because if it is a 20,000 crore company, everybody is having debt of about 7,000 crore. It is very high because nobody is accountable and they spend X and Y like that. So the appointment, the management, how the even state government manage the public sector, IAS person, no, so I'm not having anything like that. But a professional has to manage a professional company. But we say that a deputy secretary can manage a company of a distribution company without much background. So how will you run that? So these are all very basic fundamental questions. The way they manage, whether it's state government or central government, that has brought to this level. And also we also as a professional, we also bargained that we do whatever you want. So like that, it has gone to that level. So we need to do something. If a public sector is not available, a great danger that we will be paying huge price for that. That is a checkmate. That public sector is a huge, like a dam. It can stop also. Otherwise, we are at the mercy of private companies. It will be very difficult for us to survive. It will be survive. So we need a public sector, but only thing is some of the things, negative things need to be set right. And like maybe that, like a judiciary, that should go to that level of appointing a CEO. Then people will have some independence. Otherwise, all the committee members were unanimous that they don't have freedom at all. Even undersecretary can question a CEO, sir. Even undersecretary can write a letter, to chairman.
Right, that is the
chairman has to go and.
He's a junior. The undersecretary is a junior to a chairman and MD of a public sector. How can he write?
See that lobby, sir, the lobby that I do not know, the bureaucracy has reduced a professional to a very normal person. He has to go and stand a deputy secretary, a director. It is very sad. So they make it as a back office, like a thing. Ministry consider all the public sector the back office. They want whatever they want, they can do selection, appointing, transfer, promotion. All they interview left and right, sir. Then how will you make a public sector work professionally well? At least private sector, there's accountability. People are afraid. But here you can do mistake, you can do great mistake, and again you can get out of it because you have a support of bureaucracy. So we need to do. Otherwise, if a public sector is not available, I'm damn sure, sir, all will pant, sue, everything will go off.
I know.
Yeah. They're all check. So we need to support the things professionally, like maybe like judiciary. We have to appoint something separate committee from the political interference. Political interference should not be the ACG.
Effectively, the Department of Public Sector Enterprises should be empowered even more, and more autonomy should be given to the board chairmen. That's what we have been discussing.
The
MD should be more autonomous.
The chairman of the PSC must have enough autonomy.
Sir, PSC board members should not be selected by the political bosses. Now, that is where it starts. The ACC Prime Minister and Home Minister and another minister, they appoint the members of the board. They want whomever they want, they can select. So we start from there.
But they should have the opposition leader also inside that, and they should take the cabinet secretary also.
To some extent, you can start. Yes.
So they should take that. I feel they should increase the democracy over there.
Yes, absolutely. I think you should not be, sir, too much autonomy by the government to the government is dangerous. We have seen many times. So exactly. Some kind of thing.
I'm not talking of the government autonomy. I feel autonomy to the board. the management directors and the boards, and including like your DGCPR, they should be autonomous. They should be given enough autonomy. Daily interference must not come. And on the other
Yes.
side, the appointment committee of the cabinet should include the prime minister, definitely I would say the home minister or whoever it is, or because there are certain issues, definitely I would say cabinet secretary and the opposition leader. Why not?
Yes, yes, sir. There is
Absolutely.
nothing wrong in that.
Absolutely.
Sir.
Correct.
At least 5 members should be seen there.
Yes, yes.
And there should
It
be
is
a member who should be retired judiciary member should also be included in that.
absolutely,
Yeah.
sir. Then only some kind of confidence will come. Sir. Otherwise, no, sir. They will go with the ruling class. Sir. What happened? The bureaucracy,
fact,
they will
CJ
change it.
Chief Justice should be part of the selection committee. In fact,
Yeah,
opposition
some-
leader
some-
and Chief Justice.
Even if it's a,
Chief Justice.
definitely,
That's the
then
best.
the whole game can be.
Then
Ah,
whole
then-
game is
then-
Now we have
Then they will not meddle with the appointment of the senior persons.
absolutely, sir. Absolutely,
Ah,
that's important.
Sir, what
Right.
happened? I can tell the NTPC chairman, Dr. Arup Raj Chowdhury. Just
Right.
the example. He was having time. See that
Yes.
that says that even before retirement, if you have people, you can extend the time 1 year, 2 years. They
right. But they
removed
did
him
not
abruptly.
just cut him off.
They
No,
didn't do
that
it.
kind of thing should not happen. I think that kind
Anyway,
of.
your issue was also there, which we will discuss in a personal interview next. Your issue is a very important issue. It's a case study. We'll discuss. But right now, we have now maybe 5 or 6 minutes left. So I want
Yeah.
Khazanchi Sahab to come back on this. I'm requesting RN Khazanchi Sahab, Durg Thukse, who has served Bhutan like nobody has served in the last couple of decades. Khazanchi Sahab, ये अभी पूरा का पूरा, the entire discussion is now circuited around the fact that there is everything is not clear and there is a lot of hunky-dory in the PSU appointment itself, and that also is impacting the performance of the public sector today. So I want your views again on this subject, sir. Khazanchi Sahab.
I will tell you honestly from my own personal experience. When it comes to selection, there sometimes it could be fair. It's not always that you need to have a lot of influence or you go after people and almost beg for it. No, there have been, but most of the times it is basically the contestants, candidates for a particular job, who keep on playing such tricks. And they hope in the political bosses, the people in the corridors of power, and try to be influencing this selection. So once the selection is done, whether it was right through influence or real merit-based, in fact, when you have competitors, their merit would be in that 19-20 difference. It would not be a big gap, but certainly there would be some favorite for some other consideration. So, okay, once he is there, the most important part is once a person is that in their chair, then you have to be trusting him, trusting his judgment, trusting his proposals. Unfortunately, what happens, even a person who has a lot of influence, so-called such type of influence, the pinpricks are there from the government. They are not left, as you said. There's absolute no autonomy, absolute no autonomy. All the time that pinpricks. And through that pinprick, you have to be then tolerant. If you are tolerant, then perhaps there will be some good delivery. So long as you are tolerant, delivery will be there. But all the time, it's very heavy on you, all the way. And there's a time when you say enough is enough.
Right. So now we are almost at the fag end of the program because we may have 2 or 3 minutes. So before I close, I want to, and thank all of you, I want to bring to today's date to all our viewers who are going to see this program, uploaded on the YouTube shortly, is that Defense and Marine had carried an issue on why the Ordnance Factory Boards, the 41 defense factory setups, world's largest decentralized factory setup for defense manufacturing, was being put up for corporatization. Now that word corporatization itself was a question because it was like they could have converted to public sector. Now the news that I have for you is today that based on our article and so many of representation, at least now the government is not converting the 41 establishments which are under government of India Defense Ministry of Defense, I would say control. These will be converted to corporatized entities, maybe public sectors, and they will make 7 of them. So at least they have tried to do justice to make 7 entities rather than a single entity. 41 different manufacturing where they make from jackets to night vision devices to tanks and everything. So it can't be put into one umbrella. So maybe some ideas come and they will also become like public sector rather than just going to the route of privatization. So some success in our editorial work and what we have done. And I hope the discussion that we are having today will also be thrown up. And this is not the end of it. This is a series. I will continue to call this panel whenever I get an opportunity in the coming days again. So it is like going to be a regular feature. We just fired the first salvo with 2 episodes, 35-40 minutes each, which people can see and they can understand. And with this, I would thank Sri R.N. Khadanchi, Honorable Dhruv Sukse, former chairman, former managing director of Tala Hydropower Authority, and also the Puna Sancho Hydropower Authority 1 and 2 in Bhutan. N. Murugesan, former Director General of the Central Power Research Institute, topmost power institute of India, and a man with varied experience in the public sector. Sri PVSN Murthy, former Vice President of Voith Hydro, and also formerly was a senior executive of Alstom, who comes from the private sector, so that I didn't want this discussion to be only public sector people, so that a private sector expert is talking in favor of the public sector. So that's a good sign. And thanks Murthy Sahab once again. And none other than Sri S.K. Shukla, who's a former director of Tehri Hydro and an eminent persona from the hydropower sector, a stalwart in his own rights. And we had this wonderful panel amongst us. And I was supported in organizing this meeting by my colleague and editorial director, Mr. R. Tyagarajan, who is not visible, but he's doing all the back end for all of us. And today we come to a close on this discussion and telling my viewers that you can come back and see these interviews and come back with your ideas. We'll continue this discussion. And